Leather jacket and its adaptability. The fact that leather jackets are robust, long-lasting, make a varied and elegant design statement that give weather protection to the body. They can be modified to meet the wearer's style. Leather jackets come in variety of designs including bomber, bikers, quilted, hooded, distressed, and others. Women leather jackets are the most popular choice due to their versatility, offering a stylish and functionality. These jackets can be worn for a variety of situations, from casual tour to formal events. Okay, that is it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen from wherever you're watching from. Welcome back to TOPTS Tailoring Studio for returning viewers. And in case this is your first time to discover this channel, please, I warmly welcome you to TOPTS family. In this channel, I upload pattern drafting tutorials based on your requests on how to draft any design that you would want me to draft. Just leave your designer request in the comment section down below, or you can reach me directly on WhatsApp. Well, in today's video, as per this request from our own friend Ibrahim, I will be sharing with you the easy way on how to draft this beautiful leather jacket using a step-by-step method. Just watch this video up to the end and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this channel for more future videos of the same. Okay, without wasting time, ladies and gentlemen, let us jump straight to our leather jacket practical pattern drafting class. As usual, I first draw a vertical straight line on one side of my pattern paper, which will be the center back guideline. One horizontal line on top of my pattern paper, which will be neck and shoulder guideline. Then I label this point A, which is the starting point for most of my calculated body measurements. Now, from starting point A, I measure downwards leather jacket full length 25 inches. So here is my 25 inches. I add 0.5 inches for length, is giving me a total of 25.5 inches. So I mark 25.5 inches here. I square across a straight line. Also, from this jacket hemline, I mark upwards 3 inches for hemband. I square across a straight line. Next is to determine underarm line stroke the chest line. From starting point A, I measure downwards chest 36.5 inches. I divide by 4, giving me 9.125 inches. So here is 9.125 inches. Note, since the leather jacket is usually worn on top of other apparel or clothing, therefore, there is need to add considerable amount of ease allowances so that it can sit freely and comfortable on the body. Okay, now to this 9.125 inches, I'm going to add 1 inch ease allowance, giving me 10.125 inches. After, I square across a straight line. Next is to determine the belly line. From starting point A, I measure downwards 16 inches for the position of the belly. After, I square across a straight line. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, our 5 horizontal working lines that are needed for the leather jacket drafting project are ready. Next is to insert these calculated body measurements to these horizontal lines accordingly. I begin by inserting the back neck. From starting point A, I measure inwards chest 36.5 inches. I divide by 12, giving me 3.04 inches, but I just customize it to 3 inches. So I mark 3 inches here. Then from this 3-inch point, I mark upwards 0.75 inches for the back neck height. I square up a mini straight line like this. After that, I now insert calculated shoulder measurements to the shoulder line. From starting point A, I measure inwards, shoulder to shoulder 16 inches. I divide by 2, giving me 8. So here is 8 inches. I add 0.5 inches for seam allowance. Then at this 8.5 inch point, I mark downwards 0.5 inches shoulder drop for the back. After, I connect this point to this shoulder drop point to create shoulder slant line. Next is to widen the back neck width. From this highest point, I mark inwards 0.5 inches. Also at this point, I mark downwards 0.25 inches for the new back neck depth. Then, using my blue marker pen, I connect these points together to create my back neckline curve. Okay, next step is to determine across back rise. At this point, I mark inwards 0.5 inches for across back or back arm line rise. I square what I have here, which is 8 inches, to the chest line. I square up a straight line in this way. After I measure this distance, I divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. Then I connect this shoulder drop point to this midpoint in this way. Next is to insert chest measurements to the chest line. From this center back line, I measure inwards chest 36.5 inches divided by 4, giving me 9.125 inches. So here is my 9.125 inches. I add 2 inches for ease allowance. Remember, we are dealing with a leather jacket that needs considerable amount of breathing space so that it can sit on top of other clothes in a relaxed way. So from here, I add ease allowance of 2 inches. Using a free hand or a ruler, I connect this point to this point in this way to create back armhole curve. We are done with arm line area. Next is to shape this jacket from the bottom. Now, what I have here, which is 11.125 inches, I square it down to this line. After, I connect this point to this point in this way. Now, if you want a box leather jacket, this is okay, but I'm going to curve it slightly inwards 0.5 inches at the belly line. Then I create my new back side seam line in this format. Okay, next is to outline the back designer small panel. I come to the chest line. I measure inwards 3.25 inches. Here at the bottom, I mark inwards 3 inches. Then I separate this panel with a dotted line in this way. So this line is the center back. This side, while cutting on fabric, you cut it on fold, or you can cut 2 separate pieces. But as for me, in this tutorial, I will cut 2 separate pieces on fabric. This one is the back panel 1, and this one is back panel 2. Also, if you want to yoke the back, you can do it. It's okay and perfect. You can mark 3.5 inches downwards, then create any designer yoke of your choice like this. But as for this jacket project, I will not yoke it. I add seam allowance of 0.75 inches like this. Now, this is my seam allowance space. Next is to work on the jacket hemband. At the hemband, this is the center back, and this hemband you cut this bottom part on fold. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the back drafting. Next is to trim out this back pattern and use it as a guide for drafting the front part. On camera we have Madame Jocelyn, and on the calculating table we have Madame Salme. Well, my dearest, if you are enjoying their hands-on class, please give this video a thumbs up, share this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Also, if there is anything we have left out or you would wish to add on, please feel free to leave your observation comment in the comment section down below. It will be Jocelyn and Salme's pleasure to answer and reply all your comments. Okay. I get a new pattern paper. I lay the back pattern in this format. I go ahead and trace out these horizontal working lines. Also, I draw one vertical straight line which will be the center front zipper placement guide. Since we are working on the front part, I will have to determine shoulder drop line. So, from the neck stroke shoulder guideline, I mark downwards chest 36.5 inches divided by 24, giving me 1.5 inches. Then I square across a mini straight line. I get the back panel. I go ahead and trim off the excess from it like this. Next is to work on the front shoulders and neck. From this center front zipper guideline, I mark inwards calculated shoulder measurement 16 divided by 2, giving me 8 inches. I add 0.5 inches for seam allowance, giving me 8.5. Then at this 8.5 inch point, I bring the back pattern. I align it like this, and then I mark or trace out the front neck. Now, at this point, I mark upwards slightly 0.25 inches. After, I connect this point to this shoulder drop point to create front shoulder slant. At this neck with this point, I mark downwards chest 36.5 inches divided by 24, giving me 1.5 inches. I square down a mini straight line. At this 1.5 inch point, I mark slightly inwards 0.25 inches for front neckline shaping. Then at this point, I draw a shaping line like this. Also, I come to this point. I mark downwards 3.5 inches for front neck opening. Then I connect this front neck depths to this neck opening point in a slant way like this. I come to this shoulder drop point. I mark inwards 0.75 inches for across front arm line rise. Then I measure this distance. Here I have 7.75 inches. I square it to the chest line. I square up a straight line like this. I bring the back pattern. I trace out the back measurements plus seam allowances in this way. After I measure this distance, here I have 9 inches. I divide by 3, giving me 3. So I mark 3 inches here. Also, I mark 3 inches here. Then, using a free hand or a ruler, I connect this point in this way to create front armhole curve. Next is to input zipper allowance. Here I mark 2.5 inches. Below I mark 2 inches. Then I connect this point together with a straight line. At this point, I mark 0.5 inches upwards. I connect this point back to the center zipper guideline. Here I mark 1 inch. After, I connect this point to this chest line point. Next is to outline the front designer small panel. I come to the center zipper guideline. I mark 2.5 inches along the neckline. At the bottom, I mark inwards 2 inches. Then I separate these panels with a dotted line in this way. Now this portion is the jacket inset, and this side, while cutting on fabric, you cut it on fold. Also, the front hemband, we cut it on fabric, while this bottom side is on fold. Next is to work on the pocket placement. From this arm line rise, I mark inwards 2 inches. Then, using this 2-inch point as a guide, I mark chest pocket opening 6 inches. This will be a zipped slanty weld pocket. Also, I mark 1.5 inches from the side seam line. Then, using this 1.5-inch point as a guide, I mark diagonally pocket opening 6 inches. This will also be a zipped diagonal weld pocket. I mark 4.5 inches of cross weld pocket with flapped button. We are done with the pocket placement. Next is to mark out the front yoke. I connect this point to this point for the height of the front yoke. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of front drafting class. If you have learned something new from this back and front drafting tutorial, please let me know by leaving your comment in the comment section down below. I would wish to read those comments and give you back the reply, and it's my pleasure indeed to read those comments. Okay, we continue working on the collar for this leather jacket. For the collar, I measure the back neckline, excluding seam allowance. Here I have 3.5 inches. Then, from this neckline tip, I mark upwards 3.5 inches. Now, at this 3.5 inch point, I draw a perpendicular line. At this point, I mark 0.25 inches. From this point, I mark 1.25 inches. After I connect these points in this way, then I blend it back to the front neckline in this format. From this point, I mark collar width is 4 inches and I want it to be too wide. At this point, I mark diagonally 3.5 inches. Then I connect these points together to create collar with this shape. You can leave your collar in this format or you can shape it like this. This line is the center back of my collar. I'm done with the collar drafting. Next is to trace out the collar to different pattern paper. Okay, this is our traced collar. I can now go ahead and trim off the excess from the front part. Okay, the front, back and collar panels are ready. I now label jacket front pieces. This one is the front yoke panel piece 1 and this one is the front panel piece 2. This one is the front panel piece 3. I can now trim and separate these panels like this. As you can see, here are the 5 pieces of the front panel. Also, I separate the back pieces. As you can see, here are the 3 pieces of the back panel. You can join the back and the front hemband together like this so that you can cut as one piece on fabric while the bottom is on fold. Point note, if you are cutting this hemband on a stretchy fabric, make sure that you deduct some inches from the original width measurements. This inset we cut on the same fabric piece as for the main bodies. So now, for this one, you cut times 2 on fabric. This one also you cut times 2 on fabric. This one also you cut times 2 on fabric. This one also you cut times 2 on fabric. The inset you cut times 2 on fabric. Then this one you cut one piece on fabric. This one you cut 1 piece on fabric. Then the back you cut times 2 on fabric. Then the back part 2 you cut times 2 on fabric. Are we together? You cut them 2 on fabric. Then now for the lining, for the interlining, you join this one, and this one you cut 1 for the lining. Then this one you cut 1 for the front facing. Then this one also you cut 2 or 1 on the for the lining. join this and this one, then you cut one on the lining. So that's how we can describe this jacket panels, how they are. So now if I had fabric, we would now see how we are able to do it, to come up with this. Give me the tape and the sole tape. Allowance, you leave seam allowance, and this one seam allowance, you add seam allowances on the sides. This one also seam allowance, joining seam allowance. Then for the collar, for this one, with this one already, you attach it to this. And again, then we have to finish this side. Just this one was, when I was doing editing, this one was disturbing. So, Madam Jocelyn, thank you so much for being on camera. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our leather jacket drafting class. If you have learned something new in this tutorial, please let me know by leaving your comment in the comment section down below. Also, watch these videos for sleeve drafting. Also, I've put their links in the description box down below. Go click and watch it. As for now, allow me to say bye-bye. See you in my next video. Shalom. God bless you all. I sign out.